How's everybody doing today? Bright and early. I'm not good at a 9:15 talk, but I'm going to do my best here. How many of you went out last night? A little exhausted right now, right? I always like to find the makeup of the audience that I'm talking to. How many of you are entrepreneurs? Okay, hands down. How many of you are ecosystem people? All right, hands down. How many of you work with government? All right, I'm actually going to, anybody I miss? Any corporations here? A few? All right. I'm going to try to hit all of your audiences and all your needs in respective ways. So from an ecosystem perspective, I'm going to try to show you some of the strengths that you have in your respective networks as it relates to entrepreneurship and innovation. From an entrepreneurial perspective, I'm going to try to satiate your primary needs: funding, talent, customer acquisition, knowledge share, and mentorship, and walk through LinkedIn utilizing you as part of the experience on how to connect to the relational assets that you need to help you expedite success of your company. From a government perspective, I'm going to showcase some of the strengths and weaknesses by your respective cities, MSAs, countries. And I'll do this real time. So every presentation I give is a little bit different. I've given about 2,000 presentations to date, so I've done this quite a bit. I used to be a spokesperson for a little company you may have heard of before called LinkedIn. I was their lead product walkthrough specialist, help people navigate the free version of LinkedIn. Then for a decade, I worked at an organization called Techstars. You may have seen Brad Feld, David Cohen, Ethan Hathaway over the last few days. I built out the relational network for Techstars, so cross-connecting 43,000 founders, mentors, investors, corporate partners, community leaders on and offline. I'm currently working at a company that's trying to democratize entrepreneurship, bring down the barriers of entry, capital, and access to tech talent to create the ability for anybody to build a digital business or sustainable income via the internet. But I always start presentations with 3 takeaways in mind. 1, build a network before you need it so it's there when you do. I actually learned that lesson when I was Director of Alumni Career Services at Michigan State University in 2009. Anybody remember what happened in 2009? Yeah, a little global recession. Automotive industry literally drove off the cliff. Did some pretty novel, unique things when I was in that role. Grew the largest college or university LinkedIn group in the world. Grew the largest mentorship program to students graduating with alumni globally because they were graduating into the worst recession we'd ever seen in our lifetime. As an aside, I realized that ecosystem development was important on supporting innovation and entrepreneurship in the state that I was in, the state of Michigan. And so I was part of the group that brought the first startup weekend to the state of Michigan, the first Ignite. We started the first creative spaces, first incubators, started the entrepreneurial program at Michigan State University. Downstream, I ended up on the Governor's Council for retention of investors or support and attraction of investors and entrepreneurs back to the state of Michigan. But one of my crowning jewels is I was the first speaker at the first TEDx in the state of Michigan. And that's actually the picture from that time period, which was super cool. Based out of the work that I did there, I got recruited to LinkedIn. LinkedIn was a rocket ship. I ended up speaking in 23 countries in higher education, in 110 conferences. I went to 227 universities. I was part of the higher education team. I was on a product team. We built 5 products to reach about 85 million people. And I traveled the world building relationships with people to adopt our products. I'm going to show some of those as we go a little bit further. This was actually a slide share that I did about 14 years ago, showcasing 50 days in my life. Hitting continent by continent, country by country, as I was traveling, evangelizing LinkedIn. So I went from LinkedIn to Techstars. The pitch, how many of you saw David Cohen, Brad Feld on the stage yesterday? All right, so David Cohen sat in front of me, one of the founders of Techstars, said, hey, I think we can build the largest, most effective entrepreneurial network in the world. I think you're the right person to do it. I'm a big fan of BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. That was about the biggest of BHAGs. And I said I was in. So I joined Techstars in 2014. And one of the things that we did while we were there is start to coalesce all of the learnings that we had created, or all of the best speakers we had that helped startups thrive. This is a free tool. It wasn't part of the LinkedIn side of this, but I wanted to make sure that you saw this. This is at toolkit.techstars.com. It's a series of videos of each one of these categories that we thought were important if you were a small business trying to take root in the world. We use this from global experience. At one point, we had 53 accelerators in 15 countries. And a good example of what's here, this is Zach Neese, who was arguably the #1 person talking about KPIs in the world. How many of you are familiar with Google? There's a guy there who talks about OKRs. He's no longer at Google, but his name is Rick Clow. If you ever watch videos of him, fantastic. But Zach is the Techstars equivalent on the KPI side. And this almost acts like a YouTube educational experience. It's not gated, it's free for everybody to utilize. And it's a step-by-step process of doing each one of these components with the best speakers in the world attached to it. Give you another example of that. Elevator pitch. This is Nicole Glaros, who also worked with us at Techstars. At one point, she was the leading female angel investor in the world. She's seen tens of thousands of companies come through, and she's teaching people how to pitch based on what she's receiving from those people. So great video. I show you this because these are assets that you can bring back to your market. Techstars YC, best in class at what we do. So you have those educational components to support and help yourself out. But you're here to talk about LinkedIn and connect into that space, so I'm going to go into that right now. Start digging around. Anybody not on LinkedIn here? All right. So every once in a while, you still get people. It's fascinating when I see that happen. But I gave my first presentation on LinkedIn in 2006. I had a room of about 50 people. About 5 of them were on the platform. It has been fascinating to watch full adoption of a product. And I've been able to do it from this vantage point, which is super cool. But what I know is most of you are on it, but you're not on it strategically. There's a reason for that. LinkedIn's UI, UX, like how you navigate the website, sucks. And somehow through time and OKRs, they've made it suckier. They hide the best value on the platform. And part of what they're doing is hiding it based on trying to get you to pay upgraded subscriptions. Everything I'm going to show you today is on the basic version. So you can do this on the free version. Now, there are definitely some challenges with search results on the back end, how many people you can see. And then they recently did something that drives me nuts, especially for the ecosystem people. They've stopped showing search result numbers based on an area. So you used to be able to see everybody who was related to artificial intelligence that was building a company in name your country, right? You can't do that in numerical value, but you can still see the relational capital that people are associated with it. So I'm going to go deeply into that. I'm going to start with something that's super flawed on LinkedIn, which is search. And again, I'm a former spokesperson of LinkedIn saying these type of things. If you go up into the left-hand corner, that search is actually an iterative search. What it tries to do is figure out what you want as you type the words in. It's actually not how our minds work. We work through filtering. We filter by geography, we filter by job type, we filter by university, by community, but we filter. How many of you were on LinkedIn prior to 2012? All right. So there was a different navigation then that still exists on the platform. It's actually the better navigation to connect in here to find the people that you're looking for. So if I come into my network, which would be your network, if you go into connections, hi, new connections. If you go into search with filters, this defaults to all the first level connections that you have. And this is the old navigation that used to be primary navigation. Drop down, that was people, jobs, companies, groups. You used to be able to click into that and then filter down from there. This is where the numbers have disappeared. It just happened about 3 weeks ago, so it's relatively new. I've already had notes into the LinkedIn folks because I don't like the fact that they did this. They're trying to drive people into their recruiter and navigator tools so that you can actually see the numeric value. We're going to skip over the thought around that, and we're going to just use Boolean search to start to navigate the relationships as effectively as possible here. So I am a big fan of building a quality network, not a quantity network. So that's the second takeaway in mind that I have for all of you. And that is actually based on a book that Reid Hoffman wrote while I was at LinkedIn. It was called The Startup of You. Reid wanted to showcase the most important relationships you have that allow you to navigate the job search. And what he found was 85% of job opportunities through relational networking happen not out of who you know, a first-level connection, but who they know, a connection of a connection, a second-level connection. For my entrepreneurs in this room, your business development opportunities, your investment opportunities, your talent opportunities is not about who you know that's important. It's about who they know, connection of a connection, because those numbers probably hold true for each of those categories as well. Now, when Reid was writing that book, he wanted to showcase globally how you build the most effective relational networks that give you access to that second level connection. So who is most likely to send information from a first level to a second level? And he found that there are 4 primary affiliations that help you get from here to there. The number one affiliation that we all have is friends and family. Now, the problem with friends and family is a lot of times their networks aren't big enough to help you out or aligned with what you do. I am currently the VP of Story at WAP. I was the network catalyst at Techstars. I was the higher education evangelist at LinkedIn. My family doesn't even understand my job titles, let alone how to help me out. So I had to default to the second most powerful affiliation globally, which was university affiliation. This is alumni to alumni, student to alumni, student alumni, back to institution. Now in the US, we have an emotional connection to university attendance. So how many of you are from outside the US? You see us traveling on your streets with letters of our universities on our sweatshirts or our shorts or our t-shirts, right? You know that's an American, like mile away, right? We are emotionally tied to institutional attainment. Rest of the world is transactional, but how many of you have heard of a very incredible business school, and I'm using you as an example right now, INSEAD in Fontainebleau, France? One of the best business schools in the world. It's actually in multiple locations, but the Fontainebleau location is about a half an hour drive south of France. If you go there, you speak multiple languages. You work globally. So say I were an INSEAD grad and I made a funding run to one of the biggest hyper-economic zones in the world in San Francisco, and I ran into somebody else who went to INSEAD. Do you think we'll end up having a conversation about that experience? Absolutely, right? So this works globally. Third, shared work experience. How many of you have worked before? That's a rhetorical question, and I'm really ashamed of all of you for raising your hand. I had that expectation to begin with. And then fourth is anything you do to support yourself professionally. So this is any kind of association you're connected to, any groups, any events like this, right? But if you just show up, that's a low affiliation. If you run things like this, it's a high affiliation, so there's variability there. But those first 3, Reid was actually able to put numeric value to, and he never publicized it. Friends and family move messaging information from a first level to a second level on platforms like LinkedIn 3 out of every 4 times, 75% of the time. High fidelity, it's just a low density network. University affiliation is 1 in 3. So what does that mean? If I have 3 people who went to the university I went to who work at Google, and I cold outreach all 3 of them. Expectation through data is one of them will respond. And I'm not a big fan of cold outreach. I'll go a little bit deeper into how to navigate that in a second. Last, shared work experience is 1 in 4, 25%. I'll give you an example of that. One of my friends that I worked with at LinkedIn is Christian Sutherland Wong. Christian is the CEO of Glassdoor. I held an event for entrepreneurs in San Francisco a couple of years ago. He was one of our keynotes, right? So we pulled him in based on shared work experience. I'd worked with him, familiarity, could utilize him. Now, knowing that those are the affiliations and knowing that the amplification works from a first level to second level, I can start to navigate this platform to create opportunities for myself in that way. So I can utilize search to identify all the relational capital that I have. Now, having done this presentation a million times, this is my first and second level connections. I know that I reach about 4 million people directly or indirectly. I'm not going to go through 4 million people, so I'm going to start to take this down to a lower set of people that I can actually search and connect into, and I'm going to use search as the approach to do it. Again, how many of you are entrepreneurs? Keep your hand up if you're actively raising. All right, for those actively raising, let's have conversation on this. I'll actually show you 3 lead lists that you have for investors right now in your network. All right, so what's your company?
I have an employment agency.
Employment agency? All right, anybody doing a tech-based company, venture back? What are you doing? All right, so from what I caught, psychology, AI, right, and doing some kind of connection between patients, and so there's a social component, right? So B2C, B2B. All right, so important words, right? So if I'm looking for an investor, what I'm looking for is their thesis. What kind of companies do they invest in? And I can use the information you just gave me to identify the right investors to help me out. And I can use LinkedIn's taxonomy to identify the people who are most likely to support me financially. So if I come over to all filters and I scroll down, I can go to industry, and one of the industry areas is venture capital and private equity. This is based on what are called NAI-CIS codes. They're the old SIC codes. They're government designation by industry utilized for tax purposes globally. So every country in the world uses this. They're perfectly imperfect. I'll get back into that in a second. But I can select this, and I can now see all the people who are in my network at a first or second level, where the vast majority of opportunity lies, right, that are in venture capital. And it's hundreds of pages of people I'm not going to go through. So I can start to take keywords that you have, and the search on the up and left is actually a search based on this set of data. So what I can start to do is drill down on all my first and second level connections using words that are important to me that I want to match to the thesis of people who are here. It's a Boolean search like Google. You can use things like and or, but I'm going to start with psychology. All right. Now it's searching for the written word psychology on these profiles, first and second level connections. And again, I'm pretty sure there are hundreds of pages of people. I'm connected to 88,000 people, or 89 pages of people. I'm still not going to go through 89 pages of people. So this is a reductive search. When I type in B2B, it's going to make that search even smaller. And now I've got all of these people I'm connected to who are investors, 26 pages. Where are we at right now? Where are we at? Indianapolis, right? And we'll say greater Indiana, right? It's proximity is a great play to identify people who might be able to help me out. Let's see how many people are psychology B2B, first or second level connections in venture capital that are in Indiana and potentially here right now. I type that in. Here are the three people who match that, right? And I can see how I relate to each one of them. Lisa Mitchell spoke on stage with Brad Feld and David Cohen yesterday. She works for Alloy, used to be High Alpha, right? Neil Kane works for the entrepreneurship program at Notre Dame. Anybody from Notre Dame here? You know Neil? Yeah. Alex Tepper worked with me. He was doing corporate development for Techstars, so shared work experience, right? So I can do what are called forwardable emails. Hey, Alex, haven't talked in a while. I know you're building your own business around corporate development. Anything I can do to help you, let me know. Really would love a connection to Jeff. Wondering if you'd be open to making it. Jeff, I'm building this app that is related to psychology and, with B2B principles, actively raising. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Now, this is where I start to take psychology to support and help myself out in the conversation. There's an old adage in Silicon Valley that if you want advice, ask for money. If you want money, ask for advice. Advice is an incredible tool in your tool chest. Because if people give it, they're giving an emotional connection to you. My entrepreneurs in this room, raise your hand again. Dirty little secret, investors need you. You do not need investors. You can function without investors, right? So they need what's called deal flow. They need to see companies, right? But what happens is most of them gate the companies that they see through affiliations or experience or connectivity, right? What you want to do is put yourself in the qualified deal flow bucket, and how I've done that is by utilizing relationships here. Somebody at a first level who can give me credibility to somebody at the second level, right? Now, if I get a conversation with Jeff, get on the phone, I'm going to ask a piece of advice. I'm not going to ask for money, weighty thing. I'm going to ask for something that's a little bit lighter, advice. Next conversation, advice. Do this over the course of 3 to 6 months until I raise. So you have to be proactive in the process on this. I become qualified deal flow at the end of this because they're emotionally connected to me because they've been giving me an advice, which is a piece of them in the process, right? Pretty cool? All right, you can do this for every company in here. You could do this for anything that is raisable here. So I'm going to give you the second lead list. What's another name for a group of investors? Angel investors, right? There isn't a drop-down category for angel investors on LinkedIn, high net worth individuals and how to find them. Fortunately, there's a way to utilize search to do that. Now, remember when I told you the industry search for venture capital is perfectly imperfect? What I meant by that is I can work at Meta right here. I can work at Amazon. I can still invest in tech companies, but I'm in the category of information technology. So we're going to take a shift right now, and we're going to use search to identify those people we can navigate. So if I reset this, and again, using Boolean principles, come up here, I can look at everybody who has typed the word angel investor on their profile, written this word. I happen to know it's about 80,000 people that have written that word on. And again, now I can take it to the relationships that are most important, first and second level. So if I pop in here, I've got all the people who are angel investors at a first or second level. What's another company in this room? Who else is pitching to investors? What's your company? Come on in, up. It's the interactive portion of this presentation. So what are you doing?
We're building AI infrastructure, distributed AI infrastructures driven by federated software. So
Ooh, that was a lot.
For AI.
So you're doing, say that again, the back end? Mac for AI. Wow, I've never heard that one before. All right, let's do this. So you're doing infrastructure play on AI is essentially what you're doing.
Yes.
All right. So watch this. You need to talk to Stefan. So he has written the words artificial intelligence, infrastructure. He's in my network at a first or second level, and he's written angel investor on it, right?
I will come, but I was one of the first actually supporters for book.
Yeah, okay. So I can see up here Tim Sackett. Is there any of you seen Tim Sackett on stage? He speaks at like SHRM conferences. He's written a book, How to Fix It, which is about fixing the recruitment process within major corporations. Tim and I used to play basketball together. Grew up in the same neighborhood. And so like it's fascinating, like it's somebody I can utilize. But you can identify somebody who can help you out. So let's stick with you for a second. Come on up. You can drop the microphone. We'll talk it through. What university did you go to?
So Florida Atlantic.
Florida Atlantic. All right. So we just did the second search for investors on this platform. So we use taxonomy, venture capital, and we use search, artificial intelligence. We're about to use the third. And again, I'm giving you this that you can use as you walk out of here to navigate your own networks to find the people who can help you out. The third one I'm going to show you is related to universities. By a show of hands, how many of you know every VC attached with the university you went to? Exactly, right? But this does. So we're going to type in on the top end there, right here. Type in. Let's clear that out. Florida Atlantic. All right, so we're going to select school. Yep. All right, so this is one of the things that I helped build while I was at LinkedIn. University pages, we took longitudinal career data and tied it to every institutional attainment globally. Every university in the world has it. Does not matter which country you are from. I can do this anywhere in the world. But we're going to utilize Florida Atlantic. So early on, before we built these tools, the developers used to follow me around giving talks to faculty and staff at universities. They built what I'm about to show you and affectionately called it John Hill in a box. This is my baby. It's been around for 12 years. Most of you don't even know it exists, which makes me sad and question LinkedIn's marketing techniques. But if I click on alumni here, it shows all alumni by Florida Atlantic, by where they live, where they work, what they do, what they're skilled at, and how you're connected to them. That second affiliation, one of the most powerful affiliations in the world, I can navigate in a super unique way, right? So you've gone across. So let's go to what they're skilled at. All right, this is based on endorsements, lightweight recommendations off people's profiles. We're looking for venture capital. So scroll back up to the top. You're great. Hit that plus add and type in venture capital. Select venture capital. I can do family office. I can do angel investor. I can do corporate office, corporate venture. And I can now see all the people that went to the university I went to that are associated with venture capital and how I relate to each one of them. So let's take this deeper. We can actually search this set. In that search box, just type in AI. We'll make it easy. Hit return. We now have the 41 alumni that have written the word AI on their profile that went to Florida Atlantic. Now, I just want to prove something out really quickly, both domestically and internationally. By a show of hands, if a student from one of your universities were to reach out to you and say, hey, I want to learn a little bit more about who you are and what you're about, by a show of hands, how many of you would take that call? And if you don't raise your hand, you're going to hell. And I don't have that power. I'm Irish Catholic, so I'm going to feel guilty about that for the next 24 hours. But the point is, most of you raised your hand. We're playing into the same principles that Reed was able to design in the book Startup of You, that university affiliation is super powerful to get into conversation, where the most opportunity comes from. And again, I can see the relationships I have in common. So Eric Qualman, some of you may have read his books in the past. One of his big books was Socialnomics. Eric and I went to Michigan State University together. We've done work together. We actually shared the same TEDx stage that I showed you on that initial picture, right? If I asked Eric to connect me with that person, he's likely to do it, right? Pretty cool? Okay, thank you so much. Give her a round of applause. You're awesome. Okay, I'm going to make you all headhunters. Anybody recruiting right now? What kind of role are you recruiting for? Designers and developers. What do you do? You own a web agency? Where's the web agency? Indianapolis? All right. So you're looking for designers, web agency, Indianapolis. All right. So I'm going to reset this, go back to the beginning. I got a few minutes with you. I wish I had like an hour with you. So we're going to do this pretty quickly. I'm going to run through corporate engagement as well. If you let me run over 2 or 3 minutes, they may cut me off at some point, but I'm going to do it. I'm all over YouTube. So if you do John Hill, Techstars, John Hill, LinkedIn, you'll find hour-and-a-half presentations on this, going deeper as we go. But help you find people to recruit. I sat one-on-one with 4,000 early seed stage tech CEOs while I was at Techstars for the decade I was there. One of the things I always tapped into was recruitment. And because I was fascinated about that. I came from LinkedIn. I was in career services at a university before that. One of the things I found is your first 20 hires generally came from people you know, first level or second level. Same process here. And in geography, so location around here. So I could look at, like we'll use Indiana as an example of one of the universities that's recruiting here. I can look at all the people who went to IU that live in Indianapolis that are developers. So 57,000. They're skilled at web development. They're in my network, first or second level connections, and they've written a term that is related to me, say something like startup, and here are the 19 people. So I can identify, I'm already recruiting out a network, but I'm doing it passively, so I can actually identify these people and reach out to them. 3 things they can do with that. 1, not respond, most likely. 2, respond, not interested, but I'll share with my network. Who are they networked with? other people who are developers in Indianapolis in the startup scene, right? 3, I'm interested. You qualify to lead through network, but you did it actively, and we did this over a cup of coffee. Corporate engagement. If any of you are selling into a company, say like Google, one of the fascinating things is you can do a lot of these same search terms to support yourself from a business development or sales perspective. So same thing as university pages these are for companies. I can see a whole host of things on Google. By the way, if I'm pitching product and service to a company, one of the first things I look at is the life page or jobs page to see how they're talking about the company. This is actually a series of testimonials of Google trying to say, hey, we're a great place to work. If you look into this, they'll share the values of the company. They'll share content that is specific to them because they're trying to out-recruit companies like Meta or Amazon or any of those other tech companies. They're telling you how to speak their language. Use that information back at them at pitch of product and service. They're telling you how to connect with them that way. But one of the cool things, anybody trying to sell into a company like Google? All right, so if I were looking for a decision maker, they put John Hill in a box to every company page a few years back. I can see all the people who work at Google. I can then see all the connections that I have at Google. Say my decision maker was in business development, I could look at all the people related to business development. Say we're looking for people, and we'll use the psychology example, that were related to psychology here as decision makers. And I'm looking for those people who are in my backyard. I work in Brooklyn, New York. Here are the 27 people who associate with that and how I relate to each one of them. I didn't tell you this story because I didn't have enough time, but if you've seen the movie The Departed, it was actually filmed in my grandmother's house. I'm from South Boston. I am a Dunkin' Donuts fan, take it large regular. My wife is a Starbucks fan. It causes marital issues. But one of the things that I always like to showcase is the back door and the relationships, how to do your due diligence if you're pitching your company to an organization like Google. So you can actually use some of what I just showed you to get in the back door for information for yourself. So I can look for people who used to work at Google, and went to my university, who used to work at Google and went to my university that are in business development. And then I can see the people who are first, second, or third level. If I reach out to these people, they'll tell me everything. Right person to connect to, right approach to take, how to sell into the company, because they're more aligned with me, university, than they are shared work experience. So this is the backdoor due diligence approach to tools like LinkedIn. I've got to wrap. I can't stay up here forever. I wish I could. But I started with build a network before you need it, so it's there when you do. Hopefully qualified some of that through the talk. Build a quality relational network, not a quantity relational network. Most importantly, entrepreneurs, raise your hand one more time. You're my favorite people on earth. You're the most incredible people out there. I can say that about you. Don't say that about yourself. That's just weird. But you are amazing human beings. You have this audacity to suspend disbelief and do something that nobody else in the world has done, or do it better. That's a gift. Do not lose that gift. There are people like me who will bring, building a company is like jumping off a cliff trying to build a plane before it hits the ground. There are people like me, there are organizations like GEC or by Jen that will actually raise the ground or extend the runway. Lean into those things, find those people. I've given you some tools to identify people who can help you out in the process, but continue to dream big. Thank you all.